Nice costume. Halloween's in October, buddy. Sarah Mitchell's voice cuts through Denver International Airport like a knife. The airline supervisor blocks the path of Colonel James Washington, her face twisted with contempt. James wheels a flag-draped transfer case behind him, his military dress uniform immaculate despite the public humiliation unfolding. Every button polished to perfection, every crease razor-sharp. Nearby passengers freeze mid-step. Their morning conversations die instantly as they witness the confrontation. Sarah crosses her arms and plants herself directly in front of the transfer case. She rolls her eyes dramatically, then makes an exaggerated shooing motion with her hands as if brushing away an annoying pest. Take your dress-up game somewhere else. This isn't a theater. James stands perfectly still, his jaw tightening almost imperceptibly. The flag-draped case sits between them, a fallen American soldier reduced to a joke in her eyes. Other travelers pull out their phones, sensing something terrible about to unfold. Have you ever watched someone mistake sacrifice for spectacle? The alarm clock screams at 4:30 a.m. in Colonel James Washington's modest ranch home in Colorado Springs. Sunlight hasn't yet touched the Rocky Mountain horizon, but James is already moving with military precision. His bedroom reflects 28 years of disciplined service. The bed corners are pulled hospital tight. Pressed uniforms hang in perfect alignment, each crease sharp enough to cut paper. Family photos line the dresser James in various duty stations, his late wife Maria, their daughter graduating college. The kitchen smells of fresh coffee brewing. James studies the official paperwork spread across his granite countertop. Dignified transfer of remains. Private Michael Torres, KIA Afghanistan. The words blur slightly as he reads them for the third time this morning. His weathered hands trace the document edges. At 52, James has escorted 7 fallen soldiers home. Each mission weighs heavier than the last. The phone buzzes against the silent house. Mrs. Elena Torres's voice trembles through the speaker. Colonel Washington, I keep thinking about yesterday, about how my Michael used to call me every Sunday morning. He'd always say, "Mama, I'm keeping America safe so you can sleep peacefully." James closes his eyes, absorbing her pain. I promise you, ma'am, I'll bring your son home with every ounce of honor he deserves. Private Torres will receive a warrior's welcome. Thank you, Colonel. Michael always talked about honor. He'd be proud knowing you're bringing him home. The drive to Evans Army Community Hospital takes 45 minutes through winding mountain roads. James's government sedan cuts through morning mist as deer graze in distant meadows. His radio plays softly classical music, helping him prepare mentally for the sacred duty ahead. The mortuary facility stands like a solemn cathedral. Inside, Private Torres rests in a flag-draped transfer case, the stars and stripes folded with geometric perfection. James inspects every detail twice the flag's positioning, the case's security, the accompanying documentation. Mortuary Sergeant Lisa Lane watches him work. Sir, I've prepared hundreds of these transfers. You check everything more thoroughly than anyone I've seen. James adjusts the flag's corner by millimeters. Sergeant, this young man gave everything for his country. The least I can do is ensure perfection in return. The loading process requires reverent precision. Each movement honors the sacrifice within. James coordinates with the funeral home driver, reviewing route timing and arrival protocols. Nothing can go wrong. Denver International Airport emerges from the prairie like a giant white tent. Morning traffic flows steadily as business travelers and vacationers merge into the departure ritual. James arrives at the military liaison office at 9:15 a.m. sharp. Airport Security Chief Rodriguez greets him with a firm handshake. Colonel Washington, we've coordinated with airline operations. Everything's set for the 11:30 departure. Excellent, Chief. Private Torres's family is counting on us. The transfer case moves through security with ceremonial dignity. TSA agents stand respectfully aside as James wheels it toward the departure gates. Other travelers pause, some placing hands over hearts as they recognize the flag-draped cargo. Gate B-24 bustles with typical Tuesday morning energy. Business travelers tap laptops while families wrangle excited children. The departure board shows Flight 447 to Phoenix on schedule. James positions himself near the gate agent desk, maintaining protective distance around the transfer case. His uniform draws respectful nods from passing passengers. A young boy tugs his father's sleeve, pointing at the flag. "Daddy, why is that soldier guarding the flag?" The father kneels down, his voice gentle. "Son, that's a very special soldier, helping another soldier get home to his family." The boy salutes James with tiny fingers. James returns it solemnly. Sarah Mitchell's heels announce her approach long before she arrives. The 45-year-old supervisor strides through the gate area with clipboard authority. Her expensive blazer and perfect makeup suggest someone who demands attention in every room. She stops at the departure desk, reviewing passenger lists with sharp efficiency. Her assistant mentions the military escort arriving for the Phoenix flight. Sarah glances toward James dismissively. "Great. Another special case thinking they deserve VIP treatment. As if following basic airline procedures is too much to ask." Her voice carries enough for nearby staff to hear. Gate Agent Martinez shifts uncomfortably. "Ma'am, military escorts have federal priority protocols." Sarah's expression hardens. "Martinez, I don't care about anything federal. This is my gate, my rules. Everyone follows the same procedures." She straightens her blazer and heads directly toward James, clipboard raised like a weapon. The morning sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows creates dramatic shadows across the terminal floor. The stage is set for a confrontation that will change everything. Sarah Mitchell's heels click like gunshots against the polished terminal floor as she approaches Colonel Washington. Her clipboard cuts through the air with each determined stride, passengers instinctively moving aside as she advances. "Hold on there, soldier boy." The words slice through gate area conversations. Travelers look up from their phones and laptops, sensing tension building in the air like electricity before a thunderstorm. Sarah plants herself directly between James and the boarding gate, her perfectly manicured finger tapping against the clipboard with mechanical precision. The sound echoes off the terminal walls, creating a rhythm of impending conflict. "I need to see your authorization for bringing that cargo into my gate area." James maintains perfect military posture despite the public challenge. His voice remains respectfully calm, though his shoulders square almost imperceptibly. "Ma'am, I'm Colonel Washington with the United States Army. I'm escorting Private Torres home to his family." He produces a leather portfolio containing official documents. The Department of Defense letterhead catches the fluorescent lighting as he extends the paperwork toward Sarah with steady hands. Sarah barely glances at the documents before dismissing them with a theatrical wave that draws attention from every corner of the gate area. "This doesn't look official to me. Anyone can print something up on their home computer these days." Her voice rises enough to draw attention from passengers waiting in nearby gate areas. A mother pulls her children closer, their wide eyes sensing adult conflict brewing in the supposedly safe airport environment. James opens the portfolio wider, revealing military identification cards and official orders stamped with government seals that gleam under the terminal lighting. "Ma'am, these are Department of Defense orders. I have full authorization for this dignified transfer mission. Everything is properly documented." Sarah's laugh carries sharp edges that make several passengers wince as if physically struck. "Colonel? Please. I've seen plenty of stolen valor cases before. That uniform could come from any costume shop downtown. The internet's full of tutorials on military impersonation." Business traveler Jennifer Hayes looks up from her laptop, her journalism instincts immediately alert. She quietly activates her phone's camera, sensing a major story developing right in front of her. James's jaw tightens almost imperceptibly, but his voice remains steady despite growing internal pressure. "Ma'am, I understand your need for security diligence, but Private Torres deserves respectful treatment. He gave his life serving this country in Afghanistan. Sarah steps closer, invading his personal space with aggressive confidence. Her expensive perfume clashes with the sterile airport air. Don't lecture me about deserving things. I work hard for my living, unlike some people who think wearing a uniform entitles them to special treatment and free handouts. The accusation hangs in the air like poison gas. Nearby passengers exchange shocked glances. An elderly veteran in a baseball cap reading Vietnam Vet shakes his head in disgust. Sarah pulls out her radio with theatrical flourish, ensuring maximum visibility for her authority display. Security to gate B24. I have a situation with an unauthorized individual attempting to bring suspicious cargo into the boarding area. James maintains his military bearing, but his hands clench slightly at his sides. The transfer case sits between them like a silent witness to the escalating confrontation. Airport security guard Martinez arrives within minutes, his boots squeaking against the terminal floor. The 28-year-old Latino veteran immediately recognizes proper military escort protocols from his own service experience. Ma'am, this appears to be legitimate military escort duty. I see proper documentation and standard transfer case markings. Sarah cuts him off with sharp authority that silences nearby conversations. Martinez, I'm the airline supervisor here. I determine what's legitimate in my gate area, not some security guard. She turns back toward James, her voice growing louder with each word, feeding off the growing audience. I don't care about your so-called protocols or your fancy paperwork. This is my airport, operating under my rules and regulations. More passengers begin gathering, creating a loose circle around the confrontation. Several pull out phones, recording the increasingly tense situation as social media notifications begin pinging. Sarah notices the growing crowd and seems to feed off the attention like a performer finding her stage. I'm ordering you to open that case for inspection. Security regulations require examination of all cargo, absolutely no exceptions for anyone. James's military training wars with growing frustration as his sacred duty is challenged publicly. Ma'am, that contains the remains of a fallen United States soldier. Military protocol strictly prohibits unauthorized opening of transfer cases during dignified transfer operations. Sarah's interruption comes like a slap across the face. I don't give a damn about your military protocols. This is civilian airspace operating under Transportation Security Administration regulations, not your military rules. She points directly at the flag-draped transfer case with accusatory aggression. Open it right now, or I'll have security remove you from this airport permanently and press charges for trespassing. The demand sends shockwaves through the gathered passengers. Several gasp audibly. The elderly veteran steps forward, his voice shaking with barely controlled anger. Ma'am, you can't be serious. That's a hero's coffin you're talking about. Sarah whirls toward him with venomous fury that surprises even seasoned travelers. Sir, mind your own damn business before I have you removed too. This doesn't concern civilians. James steps protectively toward the transfer case, his voice finally showing strain after maintaining composure under extreme pressure. Ma'am, under federal law, dignified transfer procedures cannot be compromised. I cannot and will not allow desecration of a fallen soldier's remains. Sarah's laughter interrupts him, harsh and mocking enough to make children in the area start crying. Desecration? Oh, now we're getting really dramatic. Playing the hero card to avoid following basic airport rules like everyone else? Jennifer's phone captures every word as her live stream viewer count climbs rapidly past 500. Comments flood the screen expressing outrage at Sarah's behavior. Security guard Martinez attempts intervention again, his voice carefully measured. Ma'am, perhaps we could contact your supervisor to clarify the proper procedures. Sarah turns on him with fury that makes nearby passengers step backward. I am the supervisor, and I'm telling this fraud to take his little theatrical production somewhere else before I call the police. She faces James again, her voice dripping with contempt that echoes off the terminal walls. What's your unit designation? Your commanding officer's name? Your service record number? Let's verify this elaborate story you're spinning for sympathy. James answers each question with professional precision, rattling off military details that would be impossible to fake. His unit designation, commanding officer's full name and rank, base location, deployment history. Every response rings with authentic authority. Sarah remains completely unmoved, her skepticism apparently unshakable. Anyone can memorize military terms from internet research. I'm not impressed by your homework assignment. The confrontation reaches a boiling point as more passengers gather and phones continue recording. Sarah's aggression intensifies as the crowd grows larger. Her voice carries across the entire gate area, drawing passengers from adjacent gates who crane their necks to witness the spectacle unfolding like a car accident in slow motion. I'm demanding a full inspection of that case, and I mean right now. No exceptions, no military mumbo-jumbo, no special treatment whatsoever. She steps dangerously close to the flag-draped transfer case, her proximity feeling like sacrilege to everyone watching. The American flag's fabric ripples slightly from her movement, as if recoiling from her presence. Security regulations require inspection of all cargo entering aircraft, period. I don't care if you claim there's a body inside or the Pope himself blessed it. James's composure finally shows visible cracks. His voice rises slightly, carrying the weight of 28 years of military service and dedication to honor. Ma'am, that is not cargo. That is Private Michael Torres, a United States soldier who made the ultimate sacrifice serving his country in Afghanistan. He was 22 years old. Sarah rolls her eyes theatrically, playing to the growing audience like a performer on stage seeking applause for her cruelty. Oh, please, spare me the patriotic theater. I've heard every sob story in the book from people trying to bend the rules and manipulate emotions. She pulls out her radio again, her finger hovering over the call button with threatening intent that makes nearby children huddle closer to their parents. I'm calling the TSA for enhanced screening procedures. They'll strip search that case if necessary to get to the bottom of whatever scam you're running here. The threat sends shockwaves through the watching passengers. Several veterans in the crowd begin voicing their disapproval, their anger building like storm clouds gathering before a tornado. Martinez steps forward again, his voice urgent and pleading with the desperation of someone watching a disaster unfold. Ma'am, I really think we should reconsider this approach. Federal law specifically protects military escort operations from interference. Sarah cuts him off with vicious authority that makes him physically recoil. Martinez, you work for airport security, not the military. Follow my orders exactly, or find yourself looking for new employment tomorrow morning. Her threat silences him, but his face shows clear distress at the situation spiraling completely out of control beyond all reason. Sarah turns her attention back to James, her voice becoming increasingly aggressive and personally invasive like a prosecutor cross-examining a hostile witness. What's your real story here? Are you actually military or just another con artist in a rented costume trying to pull at people's heartstrings for free flights? She begins circling him like a predator stalking wounded prey, her clipboard pointed like a weapon ready to strike. Let's dig deeper into your supposed credentials. What's your social security number? Your military ID number? Your mother's maiden name? Your blood type? James answers each invasive question with professional precision. But his patience wears visibly thin as Sarah continues her relentless interrogation like a detective grilling a murder suspect. Anyone can buy fake military IDs online these days. The black market for stolen valor props is absolutely huge. I've seen documentaries about it. Jennifer's live stream viewer count explodes past 3,000 as word spreads across social media platforms like wildfire. Comments pour in expressing outrage and demanding immediate justice. This is completely insane, you guys, Jennifer whispers into her phone while keeping the camera trained on the confrontation. This woman is literally preventing a military funeral escort from doing his sacred job. Sarah notices the phones recording her behavior and seems to feed off the attention rather than backing down, like a narcissist craving spotlight regardless of context. Put those devices away immediately. This is a serious security matter, not entertainment content for your social media accounts and viral videos. Passengers refuse to comply, sensing they're witnessing something that needs to be documented for posterity, justice, and accountability. The elderly Vietnam veteran steps closer, his voice shaking with emotion and barely controlled rage from decades of suppressed memories. "Ma'am, I served 2 tours in Vietnam. I lost friends in that jungle. I know a real soldier when I see one, and you're dishonoring everything that flag represents." Sarah whirls on him with shocking aggression that surprises even seasoned travelers accustomed to airport stress and drama. "I don't care about your ancient war stories, old man. This is about current airport security protocols, not your nostalgic military memories from 50 years ago." Her dismissal of the veteran's service draws audible gasps from the crowd. Several passengers begin openly expressing their anger in voices that carry throughout the terminal. "This is absolutely disgusting," mutters a middle-aged woman holding her husband's arm tightly while shaking her head in disbelief. "Someone needs to stop this madness," adds a college student recording everything on his phone while live tweeting the incident. Sarah seems oblivious to the growing hostility around her, drunk on her own authority and power like a dictator ruling a small kingdom. "I want that case opened immediately for a complete full inspection. If you refuse my direct order, I'm having you arrested for interfering with airport security operations." James finally reaches his breaking point. His military bearing remains intact, but steel enters his voice like a blade being drawn from its sheath. "Ma'am, under Title 10 of the United States Code and Department of Defense regulations, interfering with dignified transfer operations constitutes a federal crime punishable by imprisonment." Sarah laughs mockingly, the sound echoing off the terminal walls like breaking glass that cuts through every conversation in the area. "Federal crime? Now you're threatening me with legal action? That's absolutely rich coming from someone who might not even be legitimate military personnel." She pulls out her phone with dramatic flourish, her movements exaggerated for maximum theatrical effect and attention. "I'm calling the FBI right now to report suspected military impersonation and terrorist threats against airport personnel. Let's see how your little charade holds up under federal investigation." The accusation is so outrageous that several passengers begin openly protesting with voices that rise above the terminal's ambient noise. "This is completely crazy," shouts a business traveler while gesturing at his phone recording everything. "Leave that soldier alone," adds another voice from the crowd, followed by murmurs of agreement from multiple directions. Sarah begins dialing with aggressive determination, her fingers stabbing at the phone screen like she's attacking an enemy. "Yes, I need to report a suspected military impersonator at Denver International Airport making specific terrorist threats against airline staff and passengers." James stands in stunned silence as Sarah makes completely false reports to federal authorities. The transfer case containing Private Torres sits between them, the young soldier's remains becoming unwilling pawns in Sarah's delusional power game. Martinez looks around desperately, clearly wanting to intervene but paralyzed by fear of losing his job and supporting his family. Other airport staff begin gathering, drawn by the commotion and growing crowd that now blocks significant portions of the gate area traffic flow. Gate agent Rebecca Thompson approaches cautiously, her face showing concern and confusion about the escalating situation. "Sarah, maybe we should contact the airline's military liaison office to verify proper procedures and—" Sarah cuts her off with sharp authority that silences nearby conversations. "Thompson, I'm handling this situation completely. Return to your assigned duties immediately and don't interfere with security operations." Her dismissal of reasonable suggestion shows how far beyond rational thought she's traveled into pure authoritarian madness. The confrontation has reached a crescendo of injustice and absurdity that defies belief. James's phone erupts with a distinctive military ringtone that cuts through the terminal chaos like a sword through silk. The sound, a crisp bugle call, immediately draws attention from every veteran in the growing crowd. The caller ID display is clearly visible to passengers pressing closer. "General Patricia Harrison, CENTCOM." Sarah notices the phone and scoffs loudly enough for half the terminal to hear. Oh, how convenient! Another fake call right on cue. Your timing is impeccable for street theater. James answers with formal military protocol, his voice carrying decades of disciplined service. Colonel Washington speaking, ma'am. General Harrison's voice projects clearly through the phone's speaker, her tone carrying unmistakable authority that makes nearby passengers straighten unconsciously. James, we have a serious problem developing. CNN is reporting airport interference with Private Torres's dignified transfer operation. What's your current status? Sarah overhears every word but remains defiant, her delusions of elaborate conspiracy theories overriding obvious reality. Anyone can program fake contact names and hire voice actors. I've seen this scam before on YouTube videos. James maintains professional composure despite the surreal situation unfolding around him. Ma'am, there's been significant confusion regarding standard escort protocols. The airline supervisor is demanding unauthorized inspection of the transfer case. General Harrison's response carries the weight of Pentagon authority that reverberates through the terminal space. Colonel, you have my direct authorization to resolve this immediately using any means necessary. The Secretary of Defense is personally monitoring this situation. Sarah steps closer, her voice dripping with sarcasm that makes several passengers cringe visibly. Secretary of Defense? Oh, this performance keeps getting better. What's next? The President calling to chat? Jennifer's live stream viewer count explodes past 15,000 as word spreads across social media platforms like wildfire. Her comment section floods with outrage and disbelief. This is absolutely unbelievable, everyone. Jennifer whispers urgently into her phone. This woman actually thinks a Pentagon general is fake. James calmly produces additional credentials Sarah hasn't seen, his Pentagon access card, Department of Veterans Affairs identification, and official correspondence from congressional offices. His phone displays incoming texts from Congressman Michael Rodriguez. Saw the news reports. You have full congressional support for completing this mission. Sarah examines the documents with exaggerated skepticism, holding them up to the light like a bank teller checking suspicious currency. Professional forgeries are everywhere these days. The technology makes fake IDs look completely authentic to untrained eyes. Martinez approaches cautiously, his security training finally overriding his job fears. Ma'am, I need to inform you that interfering with federal military operations carries serious legal consequences under federal law. Sarah whirls on him with volcanic fury that startles nearby children into tears. Martinez, you're fired. Pack your belongings and leave airport property immediately for insubordination. Her threat backfires spectacularly as other security personnel exchange shocked glances, realizing their supervisor has completely lost rational control. James's phone rings again, this time showing Colonel Sarah Thompson, Base Commander Peterson AFB. He answers formally while maintaining eye contact with Sarah, his voice carrying quiet authority that commands respect from everyone except her. Colonel Washington here. Colonel Thompson's voice carries across the terminal with crisp military efficiency that makes veterans in the crowd stand straighter automatically. James, the Joint Chiefs are fully aware of your situation. Proceed with complete federal authority. Any interference will face immediate prosecution. Sarah's confidence finally shows microscopic cracks as the evidence mounts beyond her ability to dismiss everything as elaborate theater. This is still just coordinated acting. Multiple people can participate in fraud schemes together. Airport Police Chief Rodriguez arrives after receiving urgent calls from multiple sources reporting the escalating confrontation and growing crowd. He immediately recognizes proper military protocols from his own law enforcement training and military liaison experience. Colonel Washington, we sincerely apologize for any confusion or delay. How can airport police assist with your mission? Sarah realizes her authority is crumbling, but makes one desperate final stand against overwhelming evidence. Chief Rodriguez, this man is clearly running an elaborate military impersonation scam using fake credentials and accomplices. Rodriguez examines James's documentation with professional expertise, his face growing increasingly serious as he recognizes authentic federal materials. "Ma'am, these credentials are completely legitimate. You're interfering with authorized federal military operations." James finally asserts his true authority with quiet dignity that silences the entire gate area. "Ma'am, under federal law and military regulations, I'm ordering you to cease interference with this dignified transfer operation immediately." Sarah's world collapses around her as reality crashes through her delusions like a sledgehammer through glass. "You can't order me around. This is a civilian airport operating under civilian authority, not military jurisdiction." Rodriguez steps forward with the full weight of law enforcement behind his words. "Actually, ma'am, interfering with federal military operations constitutes a serious federal crime punishable by significant imprisonment and fines." The power dynamic flips completely as Sarah realizes she's no longer in control of anything. Her clipboard falls from trembling hands, clattering against the floor like her crumbling authority. Jennifer's live stream reaches 50,000 viewers as the confrontation reaches its climactic turning point. "Oh my God, you guys, this woman just destroyed her entire career in real time on camera. This is absolutely incredible to witness." Sarah stands frozen as her world implodes, finally understanding the magnitude of her catastrophic mistake. The flag-draped transfer case sits silently between them. Private Torres's remains, bearing witness to justice, finally beginning to emerge from chaos. Sarah's face drains of color as the full weight of her situation crashes down like an avalanche. Her hands shake visibly as she drops her clipboard, the sound echoing through the suddenly quiet gate area. Wait just a minute here." Her voice cracks with desperate panic. "I was simply doing my job according to standard security protocols. You have to understand my position." James maintains his dignified composure despite having endured 30 minutes of public humiliation and false accusations. "Ma'am, I understand security concerns are important, but this situation could have been resolved with basic respect and proper procedure verification." Sarah's tone shifts dramatically from aggressive authority to pleading desperation as she realizes her career is crumbling in real time. "Colonel, surely you understand I was just being extra cautious in today's security environment. I had no way of knowing the paperwork was completely legitimate." Martinez steps forward, his earlier fear replaced by righteous anger at being threatened with termination for trying to do the right thing. "Ma'am, I specifically told you from the beginning that this was legitimate military escort duty. You refused to listen to proper guidance." Sarah turns on her own subordinate with wild eyes, seeking someone to blame for her catastrophic judgment failure. "Martinez, you should have been much clearer about the situation. Your communication was inadequate and confusing." Captain Reynolds, the flight pilot, shakes his head in disgust as he reviews the authentic credentials Sarah dismissed so carelessly. "Sarah, Colonel Washington showed you proper Department of Defense documentation. These credentials are obviously genuine to anyone with basic training." Sarah's voice becomes increasingly shrill as she realizes no one will support her rapidly crumbling position. "But the security manual says to verify all cargo. I was following written procedures exactly as trained." Airport Director Michael Chang arrives after receiving urgent calls from multiple department heads reporting the public relations disaster unfolding in real time. His face shows barely controlled fury as he surveys the scene, dozens of passengers recording, social media spreading the story globally, and his airline's reputation being destroyed. "Ms. Mitchell, you are suspended from all duties immediately pending a complete internal investigation and potential criminal referral." Sarah's world collapses completely as the words hit her like physical blows. "Sir, please, I was just following security protocols to the letter. I didn't mean for this to escalate so dramatically." Chang's voice carries the authority of corporate damage control and legal liability concerns. "You violated federal law, created a public relations nightmare, and showed shocking disrespect to a fallen soldier and his escort. This is unconscionable behavior." Sarah realizes the true severity of her situation as her supervisor's words sink in completely. But I was protecting airport security. That's exactly what you pay me to do every single day. Chang reviews the documentation James provided, his expression growing darker with each official seal and government letterhead he examines. These credentials are unquestionably authentic. Your behavior constitutes gross misconduct and potential federal crimes. Sarah makes one final desperate attempt to salvage her rapidly disappearing career and reputation. Sir, in today's world of sophisticated fraud, anyone can create convincing fake documents. I was being appropriately skeptical. Rodriguez, the airport police chief, intervenes with the weight of law enforcement authority behind his words. Ma'am, your skepticism crossed the line into discrimination and interference with federal operations. The evidence is overwhelming and documented. Sarah's legs tremble as two airport security officers approach her position at Rodriguez's signal. Officers, please escort Ms. Mitchell from the secure area immediately. Her access credentials are revoked pending investigation. The reality of being physically removed from her workplace by security forces finally breaks through Sarah's remaining denial. This can't be happening. I've worked here for 12 years with perfect performance reviews. James, displaying remarkable grace under extreme pressure, steps forward with unexpected compassion. Chief Rodriguez, while Ms. Mitchell's behavior was inappropriate, she's already faced significant public consequences. I decline to press personal charges at this time. Sarah stares at him in shock, unable to comprehend receiving mercy from the man she spent 30 minutes publicly humiliating. Colonel, I don't understand why you would... James's response demonstrates the honor and dignity Sarah failed to recognize throughout their entire confrontation. Ma'am, you've lost your job and faced public accountability. Private Torres's mission is what matters most right now. Chang personally escorts James toward the boarding gate with apologetic deference that contrasts sharply with Sarah's earlier treatment. Colonel Washington, please accept our deepest apologies. We'll ensure Private Torres receives the honor he deserves for his ultimate sacrifice. Sarah watches her career end as security officers guide her away from the gate area while dozens of phones continue recording her humiliating departure. The flag-draped transfer case finally moves toward its proper destination, Private Torres's journey home resuming with appropriate dignity and respect. Jennifer's live stream video explodes across social media platforms like digital wildfire. Within 6 hours, the footage reached 2 million views on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter combined. The hashtags #AirportDiscrimination and #ColonelWashington begin trending nationally as outrage spreads from coast to coast. Major news networks scramble to cover the developing story as their assignment desks receive hundreds of calls from viewers demanding coverage. CNN breaks into regular programming with Breaking, Airline Worker Blocks Military Funeral Escort, scrolling across screens nationwide. Anderson Cooper interviews James via satellite phone during his flight connection in Phoenix, the colonel's composed demeanor contrasting sharply with the chaos Sarah created. This was never about personal vindication, James explains calmly to millions of viewers. Private Torres deserved dignity and respect for his ultimate sacrifice. That's all that truly matters in this situation. Fox News, MSNBC, and ABC all run extensive segments throughout the evening news cycle. Social media rallies around #PrivateTorres and #HonorOurFallen as veterans organizations nationwide issue statements supporting James and condemning discriminatory treatment. The American Legion releases a statement within hours. Colonel Washington's professionalism under disgraceful circumstances exemplifies the best of military service. No escort should face such disrespectful treatment while fulfilling sacred duties. Airline CEO Patricia Stevens faces a corporate crisis management nightmare as her phone rings constantly with calls from board members, investors, and legal counsel. Company stock drops 4% in after-hours trading as investors react to the public relations catastrophe spreading globally. Stevens authorizes an immediate public apology released simultaneously across all company platforms and major media outlets. We deeply regret this incident and are conducting a comprehensive investigation into our staff training and procedures. This behavior does not represent our company values or respect for military service. Internal corporate investigators uncover a disturbing pattern as they review Sarah's 12-year employment record with fresh scrutiny. HR discovers multiple previously unreported complaints from minority passengers describing discriminatory treatment that management had dismissed or ignored. Flight attendant Maria Gonzalez comes forward with testimony about Sarah's history of racial bias. She consistently made inappropriate comments about passengers' appearances and backgrounds. We reported concerns multiple times, but nothing ever happened to address the pattern. Ground crew supervisor David Kim provides similar evidence about Sarah's discriminatory behavior toward employees. She regularly made assumptions about people's qualifications based on their appearance or accent. Several excellent workers quit because of her treatment. The Department of Transportation launches a formal federal investigation within 24 hours as Transportation Secretary Jennifer Granholm personally reviews the viral footage and accompanying documentation. Discrimination against military personnel violates multiple federal statutes. We will pursue all appropriate legal remedies to ensure this never happens again. FBI Civil Rights Division investigators arrive at Denver International Airport to interview witnesses and collect evidence for potential federal charges under Title 18 violations of civil rights under color of authority. Military liaison officers from Peterson Air Force Base conduct their own investigation, reviewing airport protocols and recommending enhanced protections for dignified transfer operations nationwide. The Department of Veterans Affairs issues an emergency policy clarification memo to all airports with military escort operations, strengthening legal protections and requiring specialized training for staff who interact with military personnel. Congressional attention intensifies as Representative Michael Rodriguez announces oversight hearings on military escort protections. No service member should face discrimination while honoring our fallen heroes. We will examine systemic failures that allowed this disgraceful incident to occur. Federal oversight authorities impose mandatory bias training requirements on the airline industry, with particular focus on interactions with military personnel and minority passengers. Sarah faces immediate and devastating personal consequences as her professional world collapses completely. Within 48 hours, her airline certification is permanently revoked by the Federal Aviation Administration, ending any possibility of future employment in the aviation industry. The viral footage makes her unemployable in customer service roles as potential employers recognize her face from the nationally publicized incident. Her LinkedIn profile becomes a target for thousands of negative comments expressing disgust at her behavior. Federal prosecutors file charges under Section 1983 civil rights violations for interfering with federal military operations under color of authority. The case carries potential prison time and substantial financial penalties. Private Torres's family, supported by civil rights attorneys, files a federal lawsuit seeking damages for emotional distress and violation of their son's dignity during his final journey home. Attorney Benjamin Carter explains their legal strategy to reporters. This family trusted that their son would receive respectful treatment during his final journey. Ms. Mitchell's actions caused additional trauma during an already devastating time. A class action lawsuit emerges as other passengers who experienced Sarah's discriminatory treatment come forward with similar stories spanning multiple years of employment. The legal discovery process reveals internal company emails showing management awareness of Sarah's problematic behavior patterns that were never properly addressed through corrective action. Sarah's personal life crumbles under the weight of national infamy as her story becomes a cautionary tale shared millions of times across social media platforms. Her children face harassment at school as classmates recognize their mother from viral videos. Her marriage suffers severe strain as her husband struggles with public embarrassment and financial stress from her legal troubles and unemployment. Friends and neighbors distance themselves from the family as the scandal continues dominating local news coverage. Required court-mandated bias education becomes part of Sarah's legal settlement, forcing her to confront the discriminatory attitudes that destroyed her career and reputation permanently. The incident becomes a standard case study in diversity training seminars across multiple industries, with Sarah's behavior serving as a perfect example of how unconscious bias can escalate into discriminatory actions with serious consequences. Corporate training programs nationwide incorporate footage from Jennifer's live stream to demonstrate the importance of respectful customer service and proper recognition of legitimate authority, regardless of personal assumptions. Aviation industry publications feature extensive analysis of the incident, examining how proper procedures could have prevented the entire confrontation from developing beyond initial credential verification. The financial settlement between the airline and affected parties totals $2.3 million, covering legal fees, emotional damages, and systemic reforms to prevent future discrimination incidents. Airport security protocols undergo comprehensive revision nationwide as federal authorities mandate enhanced training for recognizing and respecting military escort operations. New federal guidelines establish clear penalties for interference with dignified transfer procedures, ensuring military personnel receive appropriate protection while fulfilling their sacred duties. Sarah's case becomes legal precedent in federal courts, strengthening protections for military operations and establishing clear consequences for discriminatory interference with official duties. The viral nature of her downfall serves as a powerful deterrent, demonstrating that discriminatory behavior will face swift and severe accountability in the age of social media documentation. Justice emerges not through vengeance, but through systematic changes designed to prevent future incidents and protect military families during their most vulnerable moments of grief and loss. Private Torres's legacy grows beyond his military service, inspiring policy changes that honor fallen soldiers and ensure their final journeys home receive the dignity and respect they earned through ultimate sacrifice. 3 days later, Private Michael Torres receives his final homecoming with full military honors at Desert Lawn Cemetery in Phoenix, Arizona. The morning sun casts golden light across hundreds of American flags planted throughout the memorial grounds, each one representing a life given in service. Colonel James Washington stands at attention beside the flag-draped casket, his dress uniform pristine despite the emotional weight of completing his sacred mission. The transfer case that sparked such controversy now rests with dignity on the ceremonial platform, surrounded by honor guard members whose crisp movements speak of deep respect. Over 3,000 people attended the funeral, including community members who learned Private Torres's story through the viral video. Veterans from across Arizona arrive wearing their dress uniforms, creating a sea of military precision and shared brotherhood that extends beyond the cemetery grounds. Mrs. Elena Torres clutches the folded flag presented to her with the traditional words, "On behalf of a grateful nation and the United States Army, this flag is presented as a token of our appreciation for your loved one's honorable and faithful service." Through her tears, she finds James after the ceremony concludes. "Colonel Washington, you brought my son home with such dignity despite everything you faced. Michael would be so proud knowing you never compromised his honor." James's voice carries quiet strength as he responds to the grieving mother. "Ma'am, Private Torres earned this respect through his service and sacrifice. No one had the right to diminish that, and I'm honored to have been part of bringing him home." The funeral becomes a powerful testament to military brotherhood and civilian support, with local businesses donating services and community members providing meals for the Torres family during their darkest hours. 1 week after the airport incident, James sits in his Colorado Springs home for a television interview with 60 Minutes correspondent Leslie Stahl. Behind him, his military citations and family photographs tell the story of a life dedicated to service. "This situation was never about personal vindication or seeking attention," James explains thoughtfully. It was about ensuring Private Torres received the honor he earned through his ultimate sacrifice for our country. Stahl presses him about the broader implications of what happened at the airport. Colonel, do you believe this incident reflects deeper issues in how our society treats military personnel and minorities? James considers his words carefully, aware that millions will hear his response. Every fallen soldier deserves dignity during their final journey home, regardless of who escorts them or what they look like. Respect for service should transcend any personal assumptions or unconscious bias. He announces the establishment of the Private Michael Torres Memorial Scholarship Fund, designed to support military families and promote understanding between civilian and military communities. We've raised over $500,000 to help military families pursue education and honor Michael's memory through positive action rather than dwelling on the negative circumstances. The incident sparks nationwide conversations about unconscious bias, military-civilian relations, and the importance of treating all people with basic human dignity, regardless of appearances or assumptions. Airports across America implement enhanced military liaison programs and mandatory diversity training for all staff members who interact with military personnel during escort operations. Federal guidelines now provide stronger protections for dignified transfer procedures, ensuring no military escort will face similar discrimination while fulfilling their sacred duties to fallen comrades. Educational institutions incorporate the story into bias awareness curricula, using the airport confrontation as a teaching tool for recognizing and overcoming prejudicial assumptions that can lead to discriminatory behavior. Military appreciation events see increased civilian participation as communities seek to bridge understanding gaps between military and civilian populations following the national discussion sparked by Private Torres's story. The viral video continues circulating as a powerful reminder that dignity and respect should be automatic, not dependent on viral documentation or public accountability pressure. James's final message resonates across social media platforms and news outlets nationwide. Private Torres gave everything for his country at just 22 years old. The least we can do is ensure his sacrifice inspires us to treat each other with the respect and dignity every human being deserves. But this story raises questions we all must answer honestly in our daily lives. How often do our assumptions blind us to the truth standing right in front of us? When have you witnessed injustice and chosen comfortable silence over difficult action? What if Colonel Washington hadn't maintained his remarkable composure under such disrespectful treatment? What if no brave passenger had filmed Sarah's discriminatory behavior for the world to see? How many similar incidents never get recorded, reported, or addressed because no cameras are rolling to document the injustice happening in real time? Is this an isolated case of one person's prejudice? Or does it represent symptoms of deeper societal issues that require our immediate attention and action? Share this story to honor Private Torres and all service members who sacrifice for our freedom. Like and subscribe if you believe dignity and respect should be universal human rights. Comment below with your answer. How can we better honor those who sacrifice everything for our freedom while ensuring discrimination never prevents families from receiving the closure they deserve? What would you have done in Colonel Washington's position when faced with such public disrespect? Remember, real change comes not from viral justice alone, but from examining our own hearts and choosing respect over assumption every single day.